of that SMG is actually just fine. And so that's one way to keep the gun protected longer. You just want to make sure if something's hitting your robot where you expect to get hit, it doesn't propagate directly to the gun. For this gun on top, it's blocked so that a shot to the front of the robot will not immediately take the gun away. It's a little bit weak because 2 shots would, but you have to remember I had a big old Mega SMG in the front as well. Now this back side gun, I had protection so that if the top is hit, say right in front of the gun, this collection of blocks would be taken away, and you know, even though there was a hit directly to the top, right near to this side gun in the back, there's this prism, or tetra rather, connected only to the bottom, so that this gun would remain. It's a little risky. You could imagine plasma hitting from underneath and taking the gun quite quickly, but it's what I chose to do on this build. Make sense so far?
Yeah, actually, that's reassuring. It's the sort of thing I do, and I was worrying I wasn't doing it right.
Nope. This is... well, this is what I do, as far as whether or not it's right. Alright, now I'm just going to start removing some of this outer shell so we can start seeing some more of the guts of the robot. Alright. Now this is a weird pattern I have been doing. You can see none of these prisms actually touch around this hover in the front. And I'm going to kind of explain why I have this pattern set up. So I'm going to make a pattern on the floor. Alright, whatever, this is fine. Alright, I have this pattern on the floor. There's a bunch of prisms that don't touch. You see that?
Yep.
What I'll do sometimes, and I'm still trying to figure out whether or not this is good, but it's what I'm doing right now. I'll take a hover. If I can find hovers. I have too many parts. Alright, I have this hover placed. And I'll have a bunch of this pattern in front of it. And I mean, there's a lot of ways you could be doing this. It's just a pattern I'm trying out right now. Okay. So let's say I get hit with a bunch of damage right to the front of the robot. We'll just say right in the front middle. That is taken away. The block that was hit is taken away, and then the block above it. Then from that block, these 2 blocks. Now, assuming there's excess damage, these will actually also serve for damage propagation instead of falling off. And so, if I have this pattern that I did on top of these disconnected blocks, also underneath, if I took a huge shot right to the front of the bot, I'd still have a lot of protection for that hover. That's the idea. There's lots of ways to create, I guess, pseudo-solids. You could do something a lot more simple than what I just did. So this is a pseudo-solid a lot of people like to use. It's easy to make.
Must admit, I did try something like that with that mech. It didn't really work. Seemed like wherever it got hit, the entire armor just got blown away.
So here's what would happen. If I get hit right in the front, the block that gets hit goes away. The next block, because you have to consider it in layers. And then from there, and there would be a bottom as well. It's just another way to do it. I don't actually know which fake solid I like doing yet. But I'll be doing the one I showed first and earlier on the bot I make. Okay, so back to this hover. I use Prism Weave as much as possible for weight reduction. That's the main reason I'm using it, to be honest.
Hey, wake up!
Just got this, hey, wake up. Oh, I had a request to remove the pilot seat. Well, I actually like to have the pilot seat because it shows me where stuff would fall off during building. But if it gets annoying, I'll remove the pilot seat for you. Anyway, so I had that one pattern I was talking about in the front of the hover right here. Now this hover is actually just directly connected to the outer layer, the bottom. I didn't have an easy way to connect it to the core, so I decided in case it gets drilled from the top, I'd rather the damage not propagate right into the middle of my robot. So I mounted it right to the actual, like, sort of exterior. Oh, sorry, Awesome Arab. I'm too slow. I would have removed it for the bottom, but I'll be rebuilding it later, so you'll still see the same pattern. Okay. So I'm just going to keep removing this outer layer. Alright. Now we're going to start getting into some interesting areas here. So this hover on the side, it is mounted very close to the pilot seat. Now, what happens if the robot gets hit with devastating damage from the outside, okay, and it propagates to where this hover is mounted? So suppose this block right next to the E-plate gets hit. Well, what will happen? This block will take damage, the block underneath the E-plate will take damage, and then both the E-plate and this other block takes damage. And, you know, that's catastrophic damage right to where the hover connects to the outside of the craft. And if that happens, I still have the hover and everything's fine. Nothing reached into the core of the bot. And that's something I like to make sure of. Alright, now suppose so we have this E-plate right here. Now suppose the hover itself got hit with catastrophic damage. You know, I'd already been bombed a bunch, and damage hits this hover. What happens? The hover gets hit. The block that the hover was connected to gets hit. The block underneath the E-plate and this other one get hit. And then, on the next layer, the E-plate gets hit. And I only lose the hover, even though it's right in the core, I only lose the hover despite taking, say, like a rail shot directly to it. That's sort of why I use T10.1 E-plates on the inside of bots now. It makes it really easy to isolate damage. Everything makes sense so far?
Yeah, I'm aware of the E-plate trick.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I was using E-plates on guns after watching Baron's video, but I hadn't thought to use them in this method.
I actually don't even use them on guns anymore, because they don't heal back nicely. They heal back uncharged. But in the inside of the bot, hopefully you're not, you know, taking damage there too often. And I do something similar for my rear hover.
Can you put those hovers back on a second? I want to see your full hover layout.
Yeah. Give me a minute. Okay, we had that. And the idea is everything past the block the E-plate is mounted on, you can suddenly start putting stuff and mount directly to it. And
User joined your channel.
And you don't have to worry about damage that hits anywhere near here because it'll just be dead-ended right when it hits that E-plate. And you'll be left with your hover intact. Alright, I'm going to leave the hover there. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, you'll have to every once in a while tell me to look at the Twitch chat, someone on TeamSpeak. I'm being sort of lax on looking at anything other than Robocraft. Alright. Okay. So I actually had a prism here. This hover. And I just put this T8 hover in the back for no reason. I probably shouldn't even. Anyway, I have a hover on the side and in the back. And the idea with this hover is if the hover gets hit directly, its mounting cube is taken away. A cube on either side is taken away. A cube further, and the E-plate soaks it up. And that means that the E-plate soaks up all the damage before the connection point of the seat is reached. So I only lose one hover at a time. The hover on the other side is safe, despite them both being connected to the same connection point on the seat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alright. Now, I had two different places where I connected, or at several places really, where I connected this hover to the outside of my robot. So suppose, you know, I take catastrophic damage right there where I connected. I lose the E-plate,